Good morning to those of you out there on the West Coast. Good afternoon to those of you here on the East Coast. I'm excited to get started talking again about some end of the year spending tips, how to go after some of this end of the year spending. It's not a miracle out there. It's not like you're going to be able to go from $0 to $1 million type thing. But for many of you companies, you're already positioned to win. You just need to go after the end of the year spending to maybe win some more. So we'll talk about that today. But I like starting off by saying thank you to those who show up early and on time. It really helps out a lot. Like we already have over 50 people live on this. And I never invite anybody anymore, right? We all know that this community exists and more people hear about it. Hopefully you're inviting other people. But for those of you showing up early and on time, LinkedIn then pushes it out further. So thank you. My tip for you today is make sure you're on LinkedIn connecting with federal buyers, not just those of us in the community, right? You and me and others, right? Connect with federal buyers who are actually posted on LinkedIn. And if you don't know how to do this, maybe I'll do another training down the road, but you can go see who's posted recently. And that's one way. The other is just to track on one. And so I wanted to give a shout out to David Waltz, who is from the Navy's, from the Naval Surface Undersea Warfare Center and Keyport. And the reason I wanted to give a shout out, and it reminded me that I wanted to tell you to follow him, is because just today, a half hour ago, he was posting out notices about opportunities that you can do business within his organization. And they spend a lot of money over there. He's let us know about sources sought. He's let us know about RFIs and then RFPs that are out there or quotes, et cetera. But follow people like him so you can hear about this from the horse's mouth. Not that I'm calling David a horse, but definitely go. By the way, if you don't know him, he comes into the community often. He's totally open to connections, right? With industry. His job is to engage with industry so he can find the best vendors to be able to support the Navy's mission. Reach out to him. Say, I saw you on the training or whatever you want. Are you open to connection? And of course, he's going to say yes. All right. So let me turn my captions off. That was just a quick thank you to those showing up early and on time. I'm going to get everything ready so I can switch over and start diving into the training. So again, today we're going to be talking about how you can win some of those federal end of the year spending. This is a 30-minute training session, so we're going to be going pretty fast. I'm not going to cover everything. Obviously, it easily could be an 8-hour training mod or training course type thing, but I'm going to get a lot of value into 30 minutes. And also one thing to keep in mind is I've done a lot of similar type trainings. So make sure you go check out our previous training. I like to call end of the year spending bonus revenue or bonus sales. And the reason I say that is because I don't want you to plan for end of the year money as if that's how you're going to survive or make your sales goals for the year, right? When you look into 2024, don't expect to make your 2024 goals with end of the year money. Make it all throughout the year. And at the end of 2024, then you get bonus. Well, that's the same thing going on right now. Maybe you haven't planned all through 2023 and you're going to chase some of this because you need it. But next year, let's make sure you don't need it. It's a bonus. And for those of you who are small business owners, you can get this when I tell you, don't ever make the sale of your company how you're going to try to get the money out of the company. You want to pay yourself a nice, good salary and bonuses throughout, so you're building your retirement. And then when you sell your company, that's bonus money coming into your pocket. Don't ever make that big thing at the end, whether it's a sell of your company or end of the year spending with the government, act as if it's the normal plan for how you're going to make revenue. No, that's the bonus revenue, bonus sales. Another thing we're going to be talking about here is that we've got 5 weeks left. And I really believe that if you've got a slam dunk opportunity, you got some past performances or some value you can bring to a team, then it's a realistic expectation for you to be able to go after some end of the year spending here. And one of the ways is to embrace competimates. These are the people who one day they're your competitor, another day they're your teammate, right? And so right now, reach out and see what's going on with them and how you might be able to fit in. So today's training, I want to cover down on 3 main things. And the first thing is just give you an idea of some tips I have for end of the year spending and just spending in general or going after sales or revenue in general. Tips I want you to keep in mind as it relates to today's training. I really want you to look at the total numbers and understand it. So bullet number 2, that point I want to cover is just how much spending happens in September. Forget about the whole year. Just next month, today is August 22nd, I think. Next month, we've got 5 weeks until the end of the fiscal year for the government. How much money is going on? I'm going to talk to you about that really quick so you see that. And then we'll wrap up with the bulk of today's training, reviewing the actual data. I want you to learn how to do what I do when I go research the information, et cetera, so that you can find the information much more tighter to what your company sells. I'm obviously going to be going at a much more generic level. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonnell. I'm the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce. I want to welcome you to my federal sales training, where I provide tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years as a small business owner in the federal market, and since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. A process goes A to Z. When we follow the process, we have repeatable, predictable results. You can see it here on my screen that there's 7 steps that I teach people for federal revenue success. Research, targeting, outreach. It leads to strategic relationships, which help you identify slam dunk opportunities so you can write winning proposals and start landing sales. It's a 7-step process that's pretty straightforward. And when you follow it consistently, you're going to have predictable, repeatable success for your company. That's why I do this training. I want you to have that success. Do me a favor. We are a community, right? It isn't just training. There's networking involved in here every single day. Like I said, I'm looking, there's probably about 100 people live, a little less than 100 right now, but it'll ramp up to 100 in the next 5 minutes. Put your company name, your core competency into the chat. One thing I'd really like to do, because I'm going to be talking about this today, is if you're a woman-owned small business or a HUBZone service disabled veteran-owned small business or an 8A firm, put that into the chat. Put it in a separate thing so people can see it pretty quickly. Oh, company ABC, they're a 8A firm or an SDVOSB. I want to team up with them. I just did training yesterday, the day before, about SDVO dollars at the end of the year and how to go after some of this kind of money. So definitely put that in, engage in the community. If you see people on my training, especially here in LinkedIn, we're all open to connections. If you're not open to connections, put that in the chat. For the rest of us, we'll just assume we're open to connections. Do you think that was a little too tough? Or you could do the opposite and just say, I'm open to connections in the chat. All right, let's dive into a couple of tips before we go into talking really about the end of the year spending and what's possible in there. The first thing I just want to start with is just to give you an idea of what's happening, right? There's almost 1 million transactions and awards that are happening in September, right? Not throughout the whole year. And so we'll go look at this in a second. And as you look at the numbers that are in there, 848,000 I put here are under $1 million. This is a big deal. And I'm really trying to show you there's a lot of transactions in there, but there's a lot of room for small businesses. What we need to be doing, going back to that 7-step process, if I just pop up for a second, is we need to be doing cold calls, right? Do that outreach to the contracting officers, small business specialists, maybe even the program office. But really, if you're an 8A firm or an SDVO, and you'll see the reason in a second, you need relationships. All of us need relationships in that agency that we're trying to sell to. The second thing I want you to remember as you go into end of the year spending here, and I say this all the time throughout the whole year. So when you think about planning for 2024, it's going to be the same advice. Create a plan around the 3 revenue streams in the federal market. You don't go after just one. If you're brand new and you've never done government contracting, start with number 1, which is subcontracting under small businesses. But if you're a large prime, you're Booz Allen, you should be doing all 3. You should subcontract under small businesses. There's 150 billion or whatever that goes to small business set-asides. Why wouldn't you go after that, right? You have the ability to go after that and get a huge portion of that if you team up with the right small businesses. And so for us smalls, if we're saying the largest should do it, certainly we smalls should be doing that. The second thing is when you're ready, prime with agencies, and then third, subcontract under large business. I always put subcontract under large business last because they require the most from you to take a chance with you. Agencies will take chances with us all day long. But larges, way more skeptical, right? Their risk tolerance is very low. And so they want proof. They want proof that you know how to work with an agency. You've worked with an agency before. You've worked with other smalls, so you understand what teaming is all about. They just want more proof in there. But as we move into the end of the year spending, I want you to be looking at the tips I'm going to show you from these 3 revenue streams. How might I go after some end of the year spending as a subcontractor under small business? How might I go after some prime contracts? If you have no past performance, don't even bother down that road, right? Just stick with the number 1. And then the third one is how can I go down some subcontracting under large businesses? Are there things I can do with large businesses where I can come in and demonstrate? There are many small businesses out there who are in our community who are doing business with larges who aren't telling the rest of that large company that you already love us, right? And so learn how to sit there and do that targeting and research, targeting, outreach, and relationship building to expand your relationship with Booz Allen, SAIC, Leidos, whoever. The last thing I want in order for you to have any chance really of end of the year spending success is you have to have a slam dunk opportunity. Don't be telling me, I wrote 100 proposals. Who cares? Did you write 100 slam dunk proposals, or did you write 100 proposals on 100 different topics? Slam dunk opportunities are one that you feel like your company should be able to win, no problem, right? It's not about volume. It's about getting winning proposals out the door. Coming back to the 7-step process, I said right here, this last step before you win sales is you're submitting winning proposals. It's not about the number of proposals that go out the door. It's about the number of winning proposals that go out the door. And you can only have a winning proposal if you know what your slam dunk opportunity is, what you're good at. Okay, let's cruise on. By the way, I'm going to, in a minute, go in and talk about all the spending that's going on. If you want me to take a look at your NAICS code or your particular keyword or something, if I have time to slide those in, I will. So in the chat, go ahead and ask me something like, hey, can you check this NAICS code? Check this thing. Throw a please in there, by the way. That's always nice. And Gus, who's on the team, my partner, he'll text me because I don't have the time to look at the chat. It'll mess it up. But he'll text me. I'll watch for texts when I'm in there, and I'll be able to look at it. Okay, so this slide, if you're already looking at the slide, you already know what I'm trying to show you. In 2022, when you look at the spending, this pattern from 2022 is exactly what we're going to see in 2023, right? So this is what we can expect to see next month. $121 billion out of the $600+ billion that was awarded in 2022. 121 billion of it was awarded in the last month of the year. So next month, not last month, next month. So you still have a shot. If you focus on slam dunk, you focus on winning proposals, then they're putting the money out there, right? They're putting the opportunity for us. So and again, don't think about, hey, if I have $1 trillion market and I get 1%, I can get a piece of it. No, it's about, do you have a good business? Do you sell something they want? Okay, let's go find where they're trying to buy it. All right, so I wanted to give you some numbers, and this is the part that was really important for you to understand, is just always understand the numbers. If you're not good at understanding the numbers, watch my training. Watch training by other people who are out there who are teaching this. There's a lot of folks. Go talk to your PTAC, APEX Accelerators, right? Their job is to sit there and talk about procurement. They used to be called procurement technical assistants, meaning they can give you technical assistance related to procurement. I don't know what APEX means, but they still do the same job, right? So go talk to them. They will guide you through the numbers if you don't know them. They'll guide you through the tools. I'm happy to help, but PTAC counselors are right next to you. Okay, so right here, starting at the top, right, in 2022, which was representative of this year, 2023, $680 billion was awarded total, right? And we call this small business eligible because small businesses have a chance at contracting these. And the reality is there's a whole bunch of that 680 that really aren't even contract or small business eligible, for like tanks, airplanes, whatever. But coming down further, right, if you look at the next number, of the 680, $121 billion was obligated in September. I put awarded here, right? Same kind of thing. These contracts are going to date signed is going to be in September. That's huge. It's just massive. But as you come down, you start seeing the reality of the situation, right? Don't ever get distracted by the massive numbers, because for us small businesses, the reality is still really impressive. But as you come down, you can see that 93 billion was full and open. And all this data that I have, by the way, I'll show you how I got it, but it's USA spending, it's FPDS. This data is freely available for you to be able to get. So learn these tools. There's people out there like Eileen Kent, who just is a master of these tools and a master of the data and can really help you, but make a point of also learning on your own. We're there for you, but you should also take time to learn. All right, so 93 billion was full and open. 23 billion was not competed, right? There's a way to look at it, and I'm not going to show you today, but you can look in and go, it wasn't even competed at all. It just said, hey, we're doing it. Imagine an airplane on there, a tank or something. I don't know what it is, but when it's not competed, it just means who cares? We can't go after it, so why look at it? But the part I really want to get to is the middle of the screen here. 12 billion was set aside to small businesses in last year in September, right? And so this is huge. As you start looking at this, this is a big spend for what we're trying to pay attention to, right? Because I went from $121 billion was awarded in September. Of that, 12 billion, still a massive amount of money, was set aside to small businesses. There's only like 50 or 60,000 prime contractors at any one point, right? Based on the data that I look at. So that means there's a lot of room for us. There's a lot of room for us as primes, and there's a lot of room for us as subs. But something that is just staggering that I want you to see, which sometimes just pushes me to say that the government does not care about women-owned small businesses. They don't care about HUBZone small businesses. And if it wasn't for the VA, I would submit they don't even care about SDVOs. And you're going to see me go down this path in 2024, start calling out the agencies for the reality. But in 2022, in September, you can see the 8A set-asides, $3 billion was done towards 8A set-asides. And if you watch my training, potentially $1.5 billion is coming from the Army alone. And we'll go take a look at that in a second. But this is a big deal. The one that's staggering to me, and I'll show you, is the SDVO. It seems really big, $2 billion. But when you go in and look at this, 1.7 billion of the 2 billion set aside for SDVOs, 1.7 billion is coming from the Department of Veterans Affairs. If you're an SDVO and you don't have a plan on the VA and getting business from the VA, then I'm not sure why you even bothered getting the small business tag, right? Go after the money where the money is at. You could still be in the Army and Air Force or whatever, but go after the VA because that's who loves SDVOs. And we'll show you that as we go along. The part that I looked at, and this is still a lot of money, right? 288 million with HUBZones. The reason I don't like it though, and this is something you can learn when you learn to master the data, is that there's not that many awards at this level. When you look at HUBZone set-asides, I can't remember if I showed it, but I'll go in and show it. It's less than 1,000 set-aside opportunities for HUBZones. But some of these opportunities are like really big dollars and they eat into this 288. The reason this data is important is because if it was me and I was in your company and I'm creating a plan with you and I'm going after end of the year money, if I've got any VA traction, I'm going after VA. If I'm an SDVO, if I've got any SDVO small business relationships with friends, I'm going after the VA. I'm going to knock on their door. But primarily, I'm going to be looking at the 8A set-asides for subcontracting under smalls, and I'm going to look at my slam dunk opportunities. When you look at SAM or whatever tool you're going to look at, you want to identify your slam dunks so you can see any set aside that comes out. And if it comes out and it's something you do, but it's set aside to a different company, just grab it and head off and try to find yourself a teaming partner. I teach you how you can quickly find small businesses that are selling in the agency where this opportunity is coming out, and how you can find the owner's name, number, and email so that you can reach out within a single day, right? Literally within an hour to be able to do a full circle on an opportunity you think is a slam dunk. Just go find a competitor mate and they might love to team up with you. This is how you go after some of this end of the year spending. Okay, so we got a few minutes left, about 10 minutes left, and I want to go into USA spending. If you've seen me go in here before, then you kind of watch me go through, but I always like backing up for a second to make sure everybody's on the same page. So USA spending is a graphical interface. It's a dashboard for the data that comes out of FPDS. If you click on start search, you can start establishing filters. And that's what I'm going to do really quick. The first thing I want to do is just show you how I do this. I'm going to click on FY 2022. And then right here where it says award type, I'm going to click contracts. And when I hit submit search, and I'm going to move really fast, right? Just come back and watch the replay, but this will be good for you. The first thing I'm showing you is just right here at the top, right? You can see FY 2022, all contracts. That's my filter. If I come down here, you can see the spending is 600 plus billion. Let me zoom out. So 680 billion, you can see down there at the bottom of the screen, right? Now let's filter this down to September and start driving into a date range. So you just click here in the time period, date range. And here I'm just going to type in 9/1/2022. Let's make sure I get it right. And 9/30/2022. So that's the last month of last year's fiscal. I'm going to hit submit search. And so now you can see up here, my filters are time period September last year, all contracts, because I don't want to look at grants or anything else. I just want to see contracts. And then here I can see that 121 billion. That's how I get that number. And that's where I start looking at it. Let's just start there for 1 second and go, well, who is awarding any contracts? Doesn't matter about set asides for 1 second. I'm going to come in here and I look at DOD. This is $57 billion is going out the door at the end of the year. And you'll see the Army's probably sitting at the very top. 57 billion going out and VA is right there. And then everybody else is pretty far behind. This is why I always say, if you're able to get into DoD, that is a good market to get into because they will never, ever stop spending. The VA is pretty close to it, but it's a different kind of spending in my eyes. Okay, so you can go from agency to sub-agency, and I just wanted to get a little bit more specific. When you do sub-agencies, DoD is this massive thing of or several departments, right? So now you get a little bit more realistic thing. Right here, VA has 400,000 employees. You can see they're going to be doing 24 billion. And this is rough, right? So 24 billion in September at the VA. And then over on the left-hand side, you can see Army, Navy, and Air Force, DLA, all of that DoD, right? You see that breakdown, and then it starts going down. Let me back up for 1 second because somebody has sent me a couple of NAICS codes, and I'll just use that as an example really quick. This is the 121 billion. If I just look at some of these really quickly, 511, let me just take that one first and show you. So all I'm looking at the moment is September and contracts. Now I want to say, hey, how about NAICS codes? And I'll scroll down here. And I'm just going to type in that NAICS code somebody sent, 541511, and come up here and run the search again. Now I can sit there and see end of the year, what does it look like last year? That's something that could be going into this year. When I look at this, I can see professional scientific services, and this is a good NAICS, by the way. I can see $2 billion is the potential that I'm looking at for September 2022, right? That's a huge deal. And when I click here on categories, I can look at the agencies, and I'm going to go down to sub-agencies as well. Get used to where I'm bouncing around. I know I'm bouncing fast, but I'm bouncing as fast as the speed of the mission for the very government you want to serve, right? They've got to fight wars. They've got to take care of veteran health care. They've got to take care of the environment or the education, et cetera. They move at speed, so we can move at speed as well. Let me click right here. This is the part I wanted you to see. So the top one is GSA, right? But if you come down and you start looking at who's spending on this, you start seeing some of the normal organizations. This is HHS. For the top three, the OPO, I think that might be DHS. And then it's USAID, which is really interesting to see USAID in the top 10 of anything because they're tiny organization. But this is how you start doing it on your own, right? Let me do one more NAICS code somebody asked for, 561311. And when you click on this one is far less or far more specific. I forgot to get rid of the other guy. Hold on. Let me get rid of this guy. Okay, so 561, this is employment services. Let me just come back here really quick. 1 million. So you see the difference there? Somebody chose a NAICS that was pretty high up there. Professional services, 541511 goes all the time. This one is really narrowed down. So, but this is important, right? You can begin to see, well, okay, that's my primary NAICS. What other NAICS are being used out there that I might be able to participate on? Okay, so let me come back and walk you through some of these set-asides. I just want to minimize some of this stuff so it gets out of my way. So the filters I have right now are September last year and all contracts. Let's start looking at where the set-asides and how much is going to a set-aside out there. So I'm going to go through all 4 set-aside programs really quick, just the SDVO, Woman-Owned, 8A, and HUBZone. So working on this, just going backwards from the tag I did before, here are women-owned and economically women-owned small businesses. So I'm going to click those. Up on top in my, there they are. So there's my searches. And when I look at that, this is where I see, okay, 240 million. This is really important, right? If I'm a woman-owned small business and I'm looking for prime set-aside opportunities, well, what agencies are most likely to do that? And so if I come in here, and again, I'm going to go sub-agencies really quick. I'm hoping this is really good that USA Spending is keeping up live with me as I go. But the Army's a big one, right? You can see that they're doing 45 million. One of the things I see about the Army is they really seem to use all of the small business programs. They really try to fairly spread their dollars across all of them. I haven't done a deep dive in it, but just everything I keep teaching, it shows that. This one's surprising, right? Again, Department of State and USAID, both of them have OCONUS type outreach. OCONUS is outside continental US. And then you start coming down. These are some different ones, right? DISA, Navy. These are really small. So if I was a woman-owned small business, I would put my eyes on probably, well, really, I just put it on the Army. I mean, you can watch for other things, but if I was a woman-owned small business, I would watch the Army in particular. I would reach out to the contracting officers, and you can dig further to find out who they are. I would reach out to them, but then separately, I would watch for my slam dunk opportunities and try to pursue those as either a push to a woman-owned or just go sub under whatever set aside they're doing. Hopefully that made sense. Let me move through this a little faster. I'm going to do the service disabled veteran-owned small businesses. So you see what I did? I took off the filters and I put on SDVO right there. And so now I'm going to sit there and run the search again. And when I do, well, the first thing you can see is exactly what I was saying, right? SDVO 1.7 billion. The very next one is this OCFO 55 million. If I was focused on the energy, I would say don't look anywhere. Let's go heads down in the VA and see where we can compete, if we compete. By the way, this also tells me what my FY 2024 or calendar year 2024 plans should be. I should be looking at this saying, I'm an SDVO. Let me get in there. Just really quick, the dollars in here, $2 billion going to be set aside or a little bit sole source to SDVO. Let's come down. HUBZone, so you see this pattern. HUBZone set aside, sole source. It's the same kind of thing. You already know that there's the dollars, but let's look at the agencies, right? So here, this is interesting. DHS is at the lead for set asides to HUBZone. So they're doing 30 million last year to HUBZones in September, but USCIS is DHS. And then we're back to the State Department, Army, typical stuff. The rest of them are all just blended. One of the things that I didn't mention before is if you look here, HUBZones last year in September had about 1,223 opportunities to compete, sole source set aside. Let's look at this last one that I have time to show you for. I don't know if that was even a sentence there, but you know what I'm saying. So I'm just coming in here, 8A competed and 8A sole source. So if we come in here, the one thing I wanted to show you was there was about 1,000 HUBZone set asides or sole sources. And when you look right there, there's 11,000. So what is that? 1,000% more 8A set asides and sole source. This tells me that you should have a plan to subcontract under a small business that has the 8A certification, right? And again, if you look in here, there was 11,000 opportunities potentially, right? Under doing $3 billion in obligation. And when you come here and look at the sub agencies, which agencies are doing 8A? I did an entire training just on 8As and pointing out the Army 1.2. Well, so here is just September. I actually did August to September, but $851 million just for the Army alone. But you can see the leaders in here, right? It's all Army and then back to DHS, a little bit of HHS, and then back to DOD. But it's those main departments. When you look at it, it's DOD, HHS, and DHS. You don't see VA in here. So our time is, I wanted to pick well, our time's done. So let me go back to my slide really quick and just wrap up with what you need to understand. If you've got questions, by the way, go to my website. I've got an AMA, ask me anything button there. Just submit a question if you've got a question, but watch this a couple of times as you go forward. But remember this, right? End of the year wins can definitely happen. You need to have a slam dunk opportunity. I'm not promising any kind of miracles, not even teeny miracles, right? I'm just saying that if you have a slam dunk opportunity and you go do hard work, like I was saying, identify the agencies, build relationships. If you do that, which you still can do over the next few weeks, then you can have a realistic chance at pursuing opportunities that are still going to be awarded through the next 5 weeks. So my task for you, my recommendation is go right back to USA spending. Create a plan for how you can go after some end of the year spending. Make sure you write down your slam dunk opportunity before you even go back in there. When you do that, you'll really massively increase your chances of success for end of the year spending for fiscal year 2023. If you're getting value out of this training, first off, throw a thank you into the chat. It takes a lot of work for the team to put this together. We're happy to do it. Little thank you is always pick me up. And then also consider becoming a sustaining member, right? You get a lot of value in there, but I always tell people don't become a sustaining member until you get so much value for free that you just want to help sustain this training that we do and all the content we put out because we don't get funding from anybody else. We do this training every single day. So come back tomorrow. We've got a lot of training going on the rest of this week. We've done over 330 trainings, live trainings in the last 15 months. So make sure you're coming back out. For all of us, remember, government contracting, it's not a secret. It's just a process. I'll see you in the next training.